Well, I want to thank Simon and NDN and MPI for having us here to talk today, and I'm really excited because this is a development that I think could be of great use to a number of Democratic campaigns going forward. In 2010, Democratic candidates will collectively spend hundreds of millions of dollars on television advertising, and for most campaigns, that expenditure will represent the single largest item in their entire campaign budget. Most of this advertising will be targeted on the basis of very limited demographic information like age and gender. So imagine if your mail consultant or your phone vendor or your field consultant came to you and said that they were going to do your entire 2010 campaign, all of the targeting solely on the basis of age and gender and limited demographic information. They weren't going to use primary vote history or party registration or any kind of political information, just demographics. You'd probably be very concerned about the fate of your campaign. But for decades, demographic information has been all that media consultants have to work with in terms of targeting television advertising. And while there are a lot of media consultants who found very creative and innovative ways to use that information to optimally target for their clients, the truth is that it's much more efficient and effective if we can target political advertising on the basis of political information. So last year, I teamed up with targeting guru Hal Malchow, and the idea was to see if we could develop some tools that would enable media consultants to refine the targeting of television advertising buys on the basis of political information, moving past demographics. And the result was that we created a patent-pending, very exciting targeting software for media consultants to use that enables political ads to be targeted on the basis of political information. So today I'm going to tell you just a little bit about precision buy and how it might be able to be useful as we think about heading into 2010. So as Simon had mentioned, television is still a very important medium in political campaigns, but targeting TV is getting much harder. 30 years ago, if you bought 1,000 gross rating points on one of the big 3 networks during prime time, you could probably reach most voters. But today, that's not true. And in fact, the proliferation of cable networks means that political advertisers, and in fact, all advertisers, now have more than 900 different networks to choose from on which to advertise. So just to give you a sense of how daunting the task is, what that means is that at any given time, advertisers have a choice of more than 43,000 different programs on which they could possibly advertise. So the targeting is a pretty serious challenge. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, the current tools for targeting TV are pretty limited. Media buyers who want to go target their television advertising, they go to the Nielsen rating books that are used by everyone in the industry, Republicans, Democrats, commercial media buyers, and those books tend to provide only very limited demographic information like age and gender. The problem is that in our business, age and gender and demographic information is both noisy and inefficient and often inaccurate in predicting people's political views. What we'd really like to know is the political leanings of the people who are watching these various television programs. So our approach was to create some new tools to allow us to move past demographics and target political advertising on the basis of political views. So we created Precision Buy, which, as I mentioned, is a media targeting software. And the idea is to analyze individual level viewing habits together with micro-targeting scores. So bringing the power of micro-targeting to actually be able to be used to target television. And the idea is, instead of targeting media buys on the basis of demographics, to actually be able to target based on voters' level of persuadability for your particular candidate or your issue or your cause or whatever it is that you're trying to advertise during the course of the campaign. And this could be for a candidate, it could be for a ballot measure, it could be for issue advocacy, and so forth. So currently, we produce basically 3 major types of analysis from Precision Buy that can be used to help target the advertising buy. First, for every television program, we analyze the proportion of the audience that's persuadable. Again, that's for your particular issue or cause or ballot measure or candidate. The second is the software helps locate substitute buys that can reach the same persuasion targets but at a much lower cost per point. And this is really key because this enables media consultants to save their clients lots and lots of money if they're able to reach the same persuasion targets for a lower cost. And the third is to identify cable systems that have the greatest saturation of our targets so that we can target geographically as well. So I'm just going to run through an example of each of these and then talk to y'all a little bit about some of the things that we're planning for the future. So this is an example of what one of our reports might look like. And this is just an example of a series of programs, and what we're able to do is look at the audience of each individual program. We could do this for each individual network or time of day, and we can look at the proportion of the audience that's persuadable for our particular candidate. And again, this could be done for any candidate, issue, ballot measure, other kind of cause that you might be interested in. The second is to find substitute buys that are reaching the targets at a lower cost. And the key idea here is to find cheaper alternatives that still enable us to reach a great proportion of our targets. So for example, instead of doing an expensive buy during prime time on a broadcast network, we might be able to suggest a series of buys either on cable or during cheaper broadcast time slots that would enable us to reach our same persuasion targets but at a lower cost per point. And anytime you're shifting resources away from more expensive primetime buys where you're reaching many of your targets, but also lots and lots of people who aren't your targets at a great cost to the campaign, anytime you're shifting that to cheaper broadcast slots or to cable slots, it helps save often a tremendous amount of resources. The third is cable systems targeting, and this enables us to find cable systems with the greatest saturation of our targets for persuasion and enables us to focus the buy in that way as well. So when we've employed these tools and techniques and deployed precision buy on several campaigns last cycle, and it turned out to be a very effective way to target the television advertising for those campaigns. The estimated savings is something on the order of about 20% of the media budget, and some campaigns took that savings and plowed it back into the campaign, which enabled them to extend the life of the advertising campaign, sometimes by several weeks. And so this could really be a real asset for candidates heading into 2010. The other thing that we found is that these substitute buys that we were able to locate, you might wonder, well, those save money, but do they move poll numbers? Because ultimately, in our business, 49% market share is abject failure, right? We want 51%, or at least 50 plus a couple of extra votes. And what we found is that these substitute buys were still able to move poll numbers across several different clients that we worked on, even while reducing overall the cost of the media budget. So that was pretty exciting for us as well. So we're very excited about all of these developments that we've done so far, but we're even more excited about where we're going. This is just the beginning. As Simon was mentioning, television advertising is not going to go away as a medium to reach voters. But because television is changing, because of the advent of DVR and satellite, the proliferation of cable networks, we're going to need to even continue to further refine the tools that we're using to do the targeting. And so we have, as you can see, many, many more things in the works that we're currently thinking about, in addition to ways to incorporate information and data about satellite and DVR as well. And we're hoping to, by 2010, have an entire toolkit through Precision Buy that's going to enable much more refined targeting of television advertising by political views moving past the demographics. So we're really excited and look forward to getting to deploy some of these in 2010. So thank you.